This is from an article written by Spencer German for the Browns on SI. 4 burning questions for the Browns. Is Amari Cooper, is this his last season? Is the first one. Number 2, Nick Chubb recently did a workout after practice. How'd it look? Is it a sign he will be ready for week 1? Excuse me. Number 3, is Kevin Stefanski calling the plays the right choice, or should he have passed the responsibility to Ken Dorsey? And 4, what's the biggest thing you've taken away from the first few days of training camp? Let's welcome in the author of that article, Spencer German, 92.3 The Fan, as well as Cleveland Browns on Sports Illustrated. Let's start with that last one. Biggest takeaway, Spencer, from the first few days of training camp.
Yeah, Dave, appreciate you guys having me on as always. And yeah, the first couple of days I had a chance to be out there at the Greenbrier. I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me was just the nuances that are being added to this offense with Ken Dorsey. And I know Kevin Stefanski made the announcement while we were there that he's going to be calling the plays. But all the things we've talked about, the motion pre-snap with players, whether it's a receiver motion outside to inside or across the formation. There was a couple times where they had multiple tight ends on one side of the formation. They moved to the opposite side of the formation. I think that's on full display. And just, how they're planning on utilizing more like downfield stuff and RPOs. We started to see a little bit of that. I know things have opened up a little bit more in the more recent days as they put the pads on. But I think that's the biggest thing that stood out to me those first couple of days down there, which was obviously encouraging and something that Browns fans are excited about with this group this year.
Play calling. Kevin Stefanski announced it right out of the gate because he got sick and tired of the question. What are your thoughts just of him calling the plays?
I think it's the right move. It's always tough because I understand where maybe some fans wanted something different, a fresh perspective on things. But I also feel like as you look back, and I understand maybe, last year in particular, I know Kevin Stefanski's offense wasn't the most highly rated offense in football because of all the turnover they had at the quarterback position. But the fact that, he kind of willed that team through his play calling, through his coaching to get to the playoffs and have the success that they did is a testament to him as a play caller. And frankly, like he's a 2-time coach of the year who got this job because of the respect that he has as a play caller in this league. So I think it was the right choice. I mean, I don't know that there was even necessarily a wrong choice here. Like, I don't think if he had given it up to Dorsey, we needed to be like up in arms about that. But I do like the idea of Stefanski kind of keeping some continuity with that. And I think it's kind of a testament also because I think the biggest thing you worry about with that is, can these coaches handle play calling on Sundays? And that's why I think some guys give it up. We saw Nick Sirianni do that recently with the Eagles, where he passed the play calling off. And with Stefanski, I think given, his resume speaks for itself. The success this franchise has had in the first 4 years of him being here speaks for itself. I think he's proven that he can handle, making up a game plan each week and then executing it on Sundays with him kind of being the guy pulling the string. So I was okay with it. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I was fine either way. And the one thing as I was reading that, it would be much easier for him to, if he's calling plays and things aren't going the way he wants to, it's much easier for him to say, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Ken Dorsey. If he gives it to Ken Dorsey and they turn it back over to Kevin Stefanski, that's a little more dicey. So I understand why he would start out doing that.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb workout, week 1, man, I'd love it, but that seems still a little optimistic. We'll leave it at optimistic.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's hard because whether you're covering this team, whether you follow this team as a fan, anytime you see a Nick Chubb update, whether it's him, squatting 540 pounds in a video that went viral or doing that post-practice workout that I had a chance to be there for, which, I mean, listen, for being 9 months removed from, I guess almost 10 months removed from that injury, and him doing that was pretty impressive. He was doing some cutting drills as well as some more lateral stuff, which was cool to see. And so I understand why people want to get excited. It's hard not to get excited when you see that because it's Nick Chubb, and we know how much he's adored in this franchise and from the fan base. So yeah, is it a sign he's going to be ready for week 1? I've been writing and saying for several weeks now, I don't think he's going to play week 1, and I think a lot of it comes down to maybe Nick Chubb gets to week one and he wants to play and he thinks like, hey, I'm 80%, which is good enough, or 90%. But I think this organization is just going to play it safe with them. I don't think they're going to risk anything. I think they showed you by bolstering the running back room the way they did this offseason. You add Deontay Foreman, you add Naheem Hines, you got Pierre Strong coming back, you still got Jerome Ford. Like I think them doing that was a testament to, hey, we're gonna let Nick Chubb kind of slow play this, and we'll get him back out there when he's fully healthy. And the game he finally returns, you can imagine is going to be a pretty emotional one for fans at Cleveland Browns Stadium.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the other thing is, I think they want him later in the year as opposed to earlier,
Yeah,
because
agreed.
backloaded schedule. So I'm with you. Cooper, I can't imagine if Cooper goes out and plays the way he has in his time here, that they don't find a way to keep him around somehow, some way.
So my one struggle with the Cooper situation, Dave, is just that I Andrew Berry has been so good about paying their players, especially guys that they feel are important to the culture and all that. And so the fact that they didn't get an extension done now, and there was levers they could have pulled. I mean, if they really needed to, they could have, restructured Deshaun's deal again and pushed some money down and created some space for Cooper. They could have just backloaded the deal, which is something they tend to do. So I just felt like if they really, really wanted to pay him, they would have figured and extended him. They would have found a way to do it now. So I'm curious about that one because I agree with you. Like his importance, and if he has another good season, it's going to be hard to let him walk. But I wonder if him being on the other side of 30 now is the thing that is maybe I don't want to say scaring them, but is maybe like the red flag for them, where they're like, well, we'd rather invest in some young players. And I think they kind of showed you that this offseason too, when they made the trade for Jerry Jeudy, and immediately a week later they're giving him an extension. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm kind of slow playing it in terms of whether or not I think they're gonna re-sign him or not. But I think going into the season, I'm kind of operating under the premise that this might legitimately be his last year here in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's it very well may be. And again, though, if he's out and producing, I could see them extending him a year once the season gets going. The question is
Yeah.
going to be: is Amari Cooper going to bet on himself and thinking that he can get 30 plus million for 1 or 2 years somewhere else? I mean, the wide
Yeah.
receiver market is foolish right now as far as the money that's being. We
Yeah.
went into the wrong business. We should have been wide receivers.
Wide receivers are quarterbacks. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. No, that's a good point. Like the market's going to dictate everything. If he has another good season, puts up 1,000 yards again, we already know he's the first receiver in franchise history to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. If he does it a third time, on one hand, the Browns are going to be hard pressed to let him walk. On the other hand, he might be hard pressed to re-sign and maybe take a hometown discount or something if he thinks he can get bigger money even over like 2 years somewhere else. So it's a good point by you, and the money will kind of dictate that. But yeah, that'll be a storyline we'll be following throughout the entire season for sure.